Hola, ¿qué tal mis amigos? Qué chévere compartir con ustedes otra vez, pero más chévere es reunirme con Rey Negron, una figura comunitaria, un hombre que siempre está ayudando a su comunidad, el bad boy de los Yankees por excelencia. Siempre será recordado por ese niño que llegó al Yankee Stadium y se quedó por muchos años compartiendo con las grandes figuras luminarias de los Yankees de Nueva York. Rey, bienvenido a Plataforma Deportiva, qué gusto conversar contigo hoy para hablar de los Yankees de Nueva York y de muchísimas cosas que están sucediendo. Bienvenido.
Muchas gracias, hermano. Te doy las gracias por todo lo que tú estás haciendo así en las calles con todos los muchachos, con todos los nenes que si no era por ti, no están jugando pelota.
No, gracias. Estamos tratando de copiar las cosas buenas que tú haces también durante muchos años. Yo soy testigo de que tú siempre has ayudado a ligas como United Youth Baseball, de las pequeñas ligas, Béisbol Cibao, International Baseball, los Han Yang Baseball. Todo eso nosotros lo hemos visto, hemos ido creciendo, viendo las buenas intenciones que tiene Rey Negron para toda la comunidad. En el tiempo de pandemia te vimos en el centro de ahí, ayudando a las enfermeras, llevándole alimentos, llevándole desayuno, llevándole agua, no solamente a los blancos, también a los latinos. Rey, ¿de dónde nace esa vocación de ayudar a los demás?
Eso viene de George Steinbrenner, porque él siempre estaba ayudando a la gente, siempre estaba ahí. Si algo pasaba, si las montañas estaban cayendo, él se metía en los tros con agua para llevárselo, ¿me entiendes? Él siempre era así, y como yo vi cómo él era, y él siempre me dijo a mí, como yo te ayude a ti, lo que yo quiero que tú hagas es que le ayude a la gente, así tú me pagas para atrás.
Eso lo aprendiste del boss, de George Steinbrenner. Ok, ahora vamos a hablar de estos Yankees.
This is Jackie Nuñez with Latin Waves. Today I have a special guest, Rey Negron. I want to welcome Mr. Yankee because he doesn't have it on his shirt already. But how are you, Ray?
Good to be on. I'm honored. Thank you.
No, I'm honored. Thank you very much for being on the show. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's pretty deep. Initially, Mr. George Steinbrenner caught you when you were at the age of 17 trying to graffiti. Now, he had the option of, calling the police. You could have gone to jail, but he gave you a second chance. What do you think that Mr. Steinbrenner saw in you that you failed to see in yourself?
I don't know that it was that as much. It was the fact that when I was caught that day, a security guard was with us, and they had put me in a holding cell. And as they were walking away, the security guard said to Mr. Steinbrenner, "Good. That's where they belong. That's where they belong. There's not much you can do for these people." And when he said that, something clicked in his head. And like within 20 minutes, he came back and he said, "Give me the kid." And at that point, it was the fact that he wanted me to prove that guy wrong. And he told me, "I'm going to give you this opportunity. I'm going to give you this chance. But don't you F me. Don't you F me." And I don't think I ever did.
So it was at that point that you realized by him giving you that chance that you either had to do right or you would have still walked a bad walk, so to speak.
Right. No question about it.
So what did you do from that on that was pivotal for you to make that change?
Well, I love baseball. Okay, that's number one. I had already loved the game. I loved the streets, but I loved the game more. So it wasn't so difficult to, in essence, be in love and at the same time do what I wanted to do. And I was living a fantasy. Okay. And the only negativity was that there were certain people who didn't want to see me do well. And I was going through an inner pain. The fantasy was stronger than the pain, because if it wasn't for the fantasy, then I would have walked away from the pain. You understand?
Right.
But I was having such a good time that I was willing to take a punch in the face or a punch in the stomach, if you know what I mean,
Yes.
and if you know where I came from.
Exactly. Yeah, obviously being brought up on the streets, so to speak, and facing a lot of hardship. Even going, even being in those times where you were facing the hardship, you were facing the streets, fights, and trouble per se. What made you think that if you continued that route, you'd be here today? Do you think you would be here today had you gone that route?
I didn't think that far ahead. I was taking it one day at a time, and every day I prayed to God that the fantasy wouldn't end,
Hmm.
because every single day I was waiting for someone to come to me. I was always looking over my shoulder to see someone come over and say, "Get out," because I already knew that people didn't want me there. I already knew that they didn't want me there. There weren't that many people of color. At the time, I considered myself black, because in those days, you were either black or white. There wasn't no Latino, Hispanic, or whatever cutesy thing you want to call it. Today, everybody wants to be Latino because it's the in thing per se. Mark Anthony, Ricky Martin, la la. But in those days, it wasn't like that. So it was the aspect of, if ever there was a major crime in the streets, I used to say, please God, don't let it be black. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't say, please God, don't let it be Hispanic. That's just the way we were.
Right.
And in the Yankees at that time, there weren't that many, with the exception of the players.
Right.
The workers were not black or Latino.
So you had to work that much harder to convince them that you're not a product of your environment.
I just, you know what? I was just enjoying what I was enjoying. I was blessed that the players were so good to me, because it was, you got to remember that you have the Reggie Jacksons, the Thurman Munsons, and guys like this who didn't come from rich environments. They came from poor environments. Thurman Munson, he hadn't seen his father in years, like me, and that there were guys like that. So right away, they took me on, and they tried to protect me as much as they could, but they couldn't see everything that was happening to me. And they couldn't see the aspect, like I wasn't going to run to them and say, hey, he did this to me. Hey, he kicked me. Hey, he spit on me.
Right.
Hey, he made me shine all the shoes. You understand? Like one time, George Steinbrenner left town, who was naturally my number one protector. He had left town to go to Cleveland. Usually during batting practice, I go out on the field. I practice with the team. I get to the park early, do my chores. When batting practice started, I would go out on the field and live the fantasy, thinking I was a Yankee. You understand?
Right.
And one of George Steinbrenner's security guys, the main guy, came out, walked on the field, literally walked on the field, walked to the outfield, grabbed me by the arm, and yanked me in front of the fans and the players.
Wow.
Yanked me, dragged me off the field, didn't take me to the Yankee locker room. He took me to the visitors' locker room, where they kept all the shoes from the visiting players who had just come in the night before. And he told me to shine your shoes. Your people are good at that. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And do you understand the pain? 17, the pain, because he was hoping I would just leave. You
Right.
understand?
He thought by humiliating you,
Yeah,
you would
exactly.
just leave.
And you know what I started to do, right?
Right.
Shine the shoes.
Shine the shoes.
And luckily, the Yankee coach, black coach, Elston Howard, saw what had happened and came in, went to the locker room, saw the guy. They had a verbal argument. It was hardcore. And then he said he's coming with me. He's going to our locker room. That's where he belongs. And
Wow.
So
I mean, of course, like most people in those days, they faced a lot of injustices. I've actually helped many musicians, especially of that era, and writers who were not on albums, not paid royalties, not on, the record albums because of being of black groups, not even having their name mentioned because of their color. So I help fight for their rights, their royalties, because it was a very difficult time, and it's pretty historic, and till today there's still some injustices. So how do you how do you deal with injustices now? You come a long way from that child, so how do you deal with it now?
as I get older, I've learned, they used to say, no, there's no crying in baseball, right? I cry a lot. I cry a lot. And I cry because I hurt. And I hurt because just the aspect of seeing the different things, or maybe because I'm selfish, because sometimes I feel that I should be further up the totem pole than what I am. You understand?
Right.
And sometimes I feel that I let my kids down because I would have liked for their dad to have been like the vice president of the bathroom or something. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So I would never let my kids work in baseball because I knew if they did and they were mistreated, then all bets are off and I got to do what I got to do.
Right.
And in turn, I wouldn't be working in baseball.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And my kids always used to ask me, Dad, you help this one and that one get into baseball. You help this one. How come you don't help us? And I used to say, because I love you too much.
Good
Understand?
answer, yeah. But they look at that as you lead by example. And regardless of the hardships you face or the injustices you face, are you taking them away from a learning lesson?
No, because they have my heart, so they know what they got to do. I believe in the aspect of if I'm a good father, and you know how you're a good father, you love like a mother. You understand? And I love like a mother.
Right.
Okay, I love like my mother loved me. I knew it didn't matter who. If someone did something to me and she knew, it's on.
How do you go about instilling those values to
Actions
others?
speak louder than words.
Right.
You can't talk and say, do this, do that, do this. No, you can't. It don't work. You have to just do and do and do. And when someone asks you, why are you doing that? You do some more, period. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
it's inaction that screams.
Yeah, because it's just like today we're in the period of face whatever you call it, Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff.
The social media.
Yeah, the whole social media thing. And it's not that I know much about social media because I don't, but I use it as an example as to the aspect of what I hope other people will or would try to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not showing off or anything like that. Yeah, I'm just in essence, we live in a jealous society. So you're either going to tell me that I'm a piece of crap for doing it, or you may do that. And you know what? I bet you more than anything, they'll try to do or duplicate what I'm doing. It's just like when George Steinbrenner would do so much charity, so much, and then he didn't want anybody to know what he was doing. Every once in a while, I would leak it.
Is that intentional?
Yeah, I would leak it. I would tell certain people. You know why?
Why?
Because I would want them to do what he did.
What he did.
You understand? If a
Right.
Donald Trump saw George Steinbrenner giving $10 to a nun, he's going to want to give $20 to that nun.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't lose in that.
Well, you're making the competition for
Yeah.
a cause, for
Yeah.
a purpose.
For a purpose.
So is this what you show children? I mean, because obviously the sport is competitive like any other sport. How do you give them direction and at the same time show them that this direction could be very competitive?
Love. You have to show them love. When it comes to the kids, you got to show love. And when you think you've given them enough, you got to give them some more. You know what I'm saying? You got to show them that you're there for them. You know, I was at a hospital one day and a little kid came up to me and he says, and there's a kid with cancer. And he says, Mr. Negron, do you think that if I do one good thing a day until I die, you think God's going to let me go to heaven?
Wow.
How heavy is that?
Deep. Very.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
And he's trying to get from me.
How did you answer that?
No, because in reality, I got from him.
From him. Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I got from him. He taught me a lesson. And that little boy died, okay, 6 months later.
And he still had a positive
Yeah,
outlook.
absolutely.
It makes you think how we take life for granted.
No, let me just say this. I was at a school one day and a little kid says to me, why do you love the kids so much? Because at that point, I had done 4 children's books. I had 4 best-selling books.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that.
And so the kid says, why do you love kids so much? And you know what I said?
What?
In front of the parents, because you haven't been polluted yet by the adults. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
When you're kids, when you're children, you're angels, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're babies. That's why I love you so much.
Now, your first, your children's books, which one means the most to you?
No, don't you ask me that. Don't you go there. And the reason for that is I have 4 children's books. I have 4 children. So you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yes, but go on.
You're going to ask, don't you? Oh, I should walk out of here right now. But it's just the aspect of, that's like asking, do I love Ricky more than I love Tony, more than I love John Eric, more than I love Joey? No, they're all the same. And they each have their own individual identity. The first book dealt with the subject of cancer.
Right.
And how I get strength from that little boy with cancer. Then the second book deals with racism and how these 2 little kids, one black, one white, and how they in turn learn to love each other by watching the screw ups of the adults. You understand what I'm saying?
True.
And then the third one, it's like my kids. The third one is saying goodbye to Yankee Stadium. And it's about the aspect of like when you've been at a home forever and all of a sudden you're moving and you keep looking back and you don't want to say goodbye. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because the name of that book was supposed to be Never Can Say Goodbye after the Michael Jackson song. And my damn publisher screwed up and put goodbye to whatever the name is. Right. It upsets me. Goodbye to Yankee Stadium. But what's the main title?
The main title is
it's my book, and I can't. Oh, here we go. One last time. Thank you.
One last time, right?
Okay. So that was, they put one last time instead of Never Can Say Goodbye.
And you wanted Never
Can Say Goodbye because I was going to steal the song. You know, never can say goodbye. You know, come on. I mean, Michael
Would
is
have been
so
yeah,
wonderful in that.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when I'm doing Good Morning America, when I'm doing all these different shows, and they would start it with that, you know, and I don't
Right.
have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? But they messed up. My publisher messed up. But you know, and then the
As
last,
long as the message was
yeah, it was a great message because I never wanted to say goodbye. When I go to work every day, I stop at the old stadium first.
oh yeah.
I do. I stop off there. I say a prayer, you know, and then I go to the new Yankee Stadium. You know.
Now you are a community consultant, right? Now what exactly that you do for the community?
Well, you know, the way that was set up is George Steinbrenner set it up that way because he says you know if you come on if you continue on a full-time basis, you're going to have to check with us on every movie that you do. You're going to have to check with us on every book that you write, all that kind of stuff. And I can't protect you because I'm not going to be here.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He says, so I recommend that be a consultant and you do your thing. You are your own island. You do your own thing. You do whatever you feel the community needs. You try to help them in whatever way you see fit. You know, you come from there. I mean, no, who else
Who else
that
better?
that works
Mhm.
at the Yankees? Nobody came from there. Nobody was born in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Of
Sure.
anybody that works there, they weren't born in the Bronx. They don't know the Bronx. They don't know the
They don't know
idiosyncrasies of
the
the Bronx.
streets like you
They don't
do.
even know the aspect of the greatness of the Bronx. And they, hey, look who came out of the Bronx. It wasn't just the Burt Lancasters, the Tony Curtis.
Right.
Those people came from the Bronx. You know,
That's right.
and I love that.
You had great groups that came from
Great.
the Bronx too.
Yeah. Hey, hip hop was born in the Bronx.
Oh, that's right.
In the Bronx. You know, so it's the aspect of having pride in it.
And they call it the Condado de la Salsa.
You know, well, listen, if you can make it there,
You can make it anywhere.
then you can make it anywhere. Okay, I mean, you're dodging bullets every damn day. You know, and you know, it is what it is.
What other? I mean, are there any other projects that you are considering doing that you haven't done yet?
Man, that's always a project. You know, there again, that's Mr. Steinbrenner saying, because he always said, you are the ultimate dreamer, you know,
Yeah.
and that was one of the things that he saw in me, you know, and you know, I love him for that because he let me do what I wanted to do. You know, he always let me do what I wanted to do. When we won the championships in the 70s, and then the players were doing the commercials, and Reggie Jackson had me do commercials with him, and that led to you know, Reggie was beautiful. He was a big brother, you know, and he was the biggest star in sports in that period, you know, and I was his friend, you know, and I was very proud of that, you know, just like I was very proud of Thurman Munson and the fact that he was very, very tough, but I was his friend, you know what I'm saying? And I used to drive him to Teterboro Airport, and he used to take off on his plane, and he would leave me with his brand new Cadillac, you know, teenage Puerto Rican with a brand new Cadillac, all driving around the Bronx, picking up some pretty Puerto Rican girls that were dying to meet me, but you know.
Yeah, you and the Rolling Stones.
Hey, maybe they took that line from me. Come on, you know. But no, but it was a glorious time.
Now, I mean, having this type of connections with all these baseball players, what did you most value in those relationships?
The love. The love.
Were they always there for you?
Always there. If there was a problem, they were right there. They were willing to fight with me, and I loved that. One time, a guy that worked upstairs in the office lied and said that I was trying to steal pictures from the cabinet, when in reality the player downstairs, Fred Stanley, had sent me upstairs to get pictures because he was doing an autograph thing.
Oh,
And so when there was no one in the office, I knew where the pictures were. So I went in and I started pulling the pictures. And then the guy passed by and then he goes, "Ah, I caught you stealing." Oh, so I just like dropped the, what do you call it? I ran. You understand? I went right downstairs to the back to the locker room.
oh, wow.
And Fred Stanley comes over to me and says, "Hey, where's the pictures?" And I told him what happened. He said, "That dirty, no good." And he goes, "I'm going to tell Billy." And then he went and told Billy Martin. He told Reggie.
Wow.
And so then Billy Martin went and got him. And the guy was in like the bar they used to have down there. And he went into the bar. They call it the press room. He went into the press room and Billy says, me and you need to talk. And so the guy got real nervous right away. And Billy says, "I either kick your ass in here or I kick your ass outside. Now, where do you want it?"
Wow.
And the guy knew what was happening. And so when
So many people that were against you must have been like surprised or saying, how does this guy have
Oh,
so much
absolutely.
protection?
Well, I don't know how to answer that question because I knew that I knew that they hated me, but I didn't know how to,
How to deal with that?
exactly. Because as the boss would say, you can't make someone like you.
This is true.
You can try all you want, but if they have a thing about you, if there's a jealousy about you, Mr. Steinbrenner used to say there's a real fine line between prejudice and jealousy. And you cannot control that. You have to keep going through.
Absolutely, because still it runs in a negative, environment that you really don't want to be a part of.
Right.
And you certainly don't want to show others that. So wasn't it hard being attacked all the time with that? How did you manage to control yourself so that you didn't bring it forward to others?
Like I said, I go home and cry at night. You know what I'm saying? And I would pray and I pray and I pray. But then at the same time, I would look at my siblings and see, do I want what they're dealing with? Or do I want to go to Yankee Stadium every day and take a kick in the ass, but I got 9 wonderful things happening? You understand what I'm saying? So I'll take that swift kick in the
Right.
butt every once in a while for the 9 real good things, because when I go home and I see my siblings, and remember something, there were 6 boys in my house and I'm the only one left.
Wow.
Okay. I used to go home sometimes because I would be on the road and stuff. And I used to go home and I would say, "Where's Phil? He's on vacation." And you know what that meant, right?
Yeah.
Tell the people what that meant.
Oh, paradise vacation, more like it, huh?
No, that meant that he was like either in Rikers
Oh.
or in Sing Sing or wherever.
Wow.
You understand?
He's away,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
He's away. Wow. What advice do you give to kids coming up today that haven't experienced what you, or half or a quarter of your experience, that feel privileged? What advice do you give them? Because some of them really need to come down to earth.
The only advice that I can give the kids today is the aspect of love. You understand? Love is the most powerful word. I got you. Love is the most powerful word. And I was talking to Jackie's producer. That's all. He's a great guy, the best producer on TV. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I got to tell the producers, "Hey, I know this business." You know what I'm saying? But seriously speaking, and he was right, because I'm just looking at you all the time. But man, you're rapping me. This is one of the better interviews that I've ever done, and I've done 1,000. Okay, not that I'm good, it's that you're good.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, that's what I mean. But anyway, it's just the aspect of love. I think that love is the most important thing that I can share with the young people, because they take it for granted. Love is taken for granted. It's God's greatest gift. It is God's greatest gift. It is our most important tool. and we don't use it. We don't use it. We use it when we're in bed with some girl that we don't know. And you think that that's making love. That ain't making love. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say what that is because it's a G-rated show. But bottom line is that love is God's greatest gift, man. And I just wish that more people would understand that we have to visit with God someday.
Absolutely.
You know, and I just put something on my Instagram about the fact that, you know, we need to love more. You know,
That's a message that isn't taken quite seriously,
no, it's
and
not.
it should be. Now let's talk about the sport. Do you think, in general, whether it's baseball, football, or any sport for that matter, today is more concerned about the money than the actual sport?
Well, every decade you have that because it's like when in the 70s when a player was making $1 million, that was like, wow. You understand? That was
Yeah, of course.
incredible. You know, so it's still it's the same thing. It's like when Babe Ruth in the 1920s was making $70,000 a year, and they said, "Babe, do you feel guilty about making so much money?" And Babe Ruth, that you're making more money than the president. And Babe Ruth said, I had a better year than the president."
Ooh,
You know what I'm
that's a
saying?
good comeback.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So it's
Do you think some players may lose sight of the actual game because they're making so much money it doesn't matter?
no, the guys work as hard as they ever have to put a good quality product on the field.
Right.
I firmly believe that. The players work very hard. They're trying to do the best they can. I watch like the Yankees and some of the players on that team and how they go about it and how they really care. So in that part of it, competition is competition,
Right,
and
right.
they go at it.
Is there any of the Yankees you didn't meet and wished you had?
Sure, Babe Ruth.
Babe?
You know what I'm saying? I
Oh,
wish
wow,
I had
yeah.
met Babe Ruth. I wish I had met Lou Gehrig. Those are the two guys that I wish I would have met. And it's great that I've gotten to meet their family, some of the families of Babe Ruth. And I actually met Babe Ruth's wife, Claire, and I met Mrs. Gehrig, Eleanor,
Wow.
and I am very good friends with the daughter of Gary Cooper,
Wow.
who
Good.
was for me the greatest movie star ever, and he played the great in one of the great films, The Pride of the Yankees. And so
Right.
whenever I'm around Maria Cooper, I'm floating. I can't believe it's real. The first time I walked into her house, I had tears come to my eyes
Wow.
because I couldn't believe, hey, this is Gary Cooper's daughter. And I could feel Gary Cooper. And then you see on the piano all the wonderful pictures of Gary Cooper doing this with his daughter, that. And then I look
Wow.
at her and say, oh my God, really?
You got some great pictures
Oh
there
no,
too,
that was
right?
that's a classic, the greatest Western ever made, High Noon.
Mm-hmm.
He won an Academy Award for that, and it was one of my first all-time favorite film, and that's my second all-time favorite film, The Pride of the
The Pride
Yankees.
of the Yankees.
And I'm very proud of the fact that me and George Steinbrenner shared that. On his 75th birthday,
Wow.
I gave him a portrait of The Pride of the Yankees and High Noon with an autograph of Gary
Wow.
Cooper.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we used to talk about it. We just used to hold the picture and point at things in the picture and talk about it.
Wow.
And
That's
when he
amazing.
died, his secretary, God bless her, she knew how much that meant to us. And when he died, she
Pride
gave
of
me
the
the
Yankees.
portrait back.
Wow,
Imagine?
she did?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that really was.
I mean, you were pretty lucky to be surrounded by these people and to have met all these people.
No.
I've always wanted to meet, was it the wife of Lou Gehrig? Because I was misdiagnosed with that disease called Lou Gehrig's disease.
Wow. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Yes. Wow, I couldn't even say that.
Most Puerto Ricans can't
They
say
can't
it.
say that, right?
You know? Yeah.
But what would be your, what would be the most thing that you cherish or learned from everything you've experienced working as, with the Yankees or even with George Steinbrenner?
Well, I have to say that one of my biggest thrills was in 1996. In the fall of '95, I talked him into signing
Mm-hmm.
Darryl Strawberry and Dwight
Oh, wow.
Dwight Gooden.
Dwight Gooden.
Okay, that was my idea. I went to him with it, and he said, "Do you think that they can stay clean?" I said, "Boss, I think that it's worth a shot for us to try." And he said, "Go for it." And he supported the whole scenario. And for a year, he had me like take Doc to rehab and all this stuff. I did a whole program for 1 year while he
Right.
was suspended. And then when the suspension was lifted, Mr. Steinbrenner signed both of them actually. And Dwight would pitch a no-hitter and Darryl would hit 3 home runs in a game. Even though people had been telling Mr. Steinbrenner, don't sign these guys.
Wow.
These guys are losers. Who are you listening to? You know? And
Mr.
so,
Steinbrenner trusted you.
well, let me just say that and that one was easy
Right.
because because I talked him into the aspect that we can hopefully keep them clean. The ability was still there. They
Right.
were greats, you
Of
know,
course.
and so they stayed clean, and that happened, and we won the World Series, and that spring when they were giving out the World Series rings, they got their rings and all that, and then someone said, "Mr. Steinbrenner wants you in his office." So I go up to his office, and when I walk in, he opens up his drawer. First, I walk in and says, "What do you want?" And I said, "You called for me." I said, "Oh, yeah, hold on." And he goes into his drawer, picks out this box, and he threw it at me. So I catch it, and I open it, and it was this ring.
That's a beautiful ring. I could
Okay?
see, yeah.
And it was my World Series ring. And he says, "You earned this."
Wow.
And so
What a beauty.
I'm looking at it, and I'm starting to well up, if you know what I mean, you know? So then he starts to well up, and then he screams out, "Get the hell out of here!" And I turned around and I walked out. You know, it was a moment.
You know something, listening to you from the inception that George
Steinbrenner.
Steinbrenner,
What's wrong
yes,
with you?
George Steinbrenner,
Yes.
from the moment he met you, even if it was in a negative, but in all those years, he saw something in you. What do you think he saw in you? Because he trusted you. Yes, you earned your way there, but he gave you that first, chance for you to prove yourself.
You know, when I first got the inkling that he was getting sick, I remember saying to him, "Hey, boss, you know, I really need to thank you for saving my life."
Wow.
And he looked at me for a long time. And then he said, that day when I looked into your eyes, your story was already told. So I didn't save your life.
Wow. That's pretty deep.
You know, that's exactly what he
What he
said.
said. Tell us about Hank's Yanks.
Hank's Yanks initially was a situation where I wanted to name it after him. You know what I'm saying? The Boss's Bombers.
Ah, interesting.
Okay, that's what it was supposed to be. And
Seems like a whole lot of names that's supposed to be
yeah,
turn out to be something else.
yeah. And he said that that he couldn't help me in that. He said, "Why don't you use Hank, his son?"
Oh, okay.
You know, and so he was the one that actually came up with the name Hank's Yanks.
Yeah, kind of rhymes.
Yeah, it did. That was the thing.
Makes
You know, I'm like, I'm a rapper. Hank's Yanks, man. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what happened. So he gave it the name. I went to Hank with it, and Hank loved it.
He loved it.
You know, and so we got as many underprivileged kids as possible, and they became Hank's Yanks. And I'm so proud of that team, because that first team was a movie. They were all like, more than 50% of that team were ex-gang members.
Wow.
Okay, who could play baseball, who liked baseball. You can go to any gang in this country and ask them what they feel about baseball, and they'll tell you how much they love baseball. And so I like to say that we proved how big baseball really can be if you give somebody the opportunity.
The opportunity. Mm-hmm.
And we gave these kids the opportunity. And one of the guys actually, from that team, two of them made it to the major leagues from that team. You know, and like at least half of those guys ended up getting signed to professional contracts.
Wow.
You know,
that's pretty amazing.
Amazing. It was amazing. And the funny thing was, the first game, I will never forget the first game that we were going to play. We were playing it in Heaven's Baseball Heaven.
Okay.
Baseball Heaven. Okay, out here in Long Island.
Okay.
And the game was about to start. The guys take the field. I'm holding, one of the guys had a baby, and the mother was working, so she couldn't take care of the baby, so he had to bring the baby to the field.
Wow.
So I'm holding the baby, and I'm going from bag to bag looking to see if anybody had guns or knives in the bags.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and I literally found 3 guns.
Wow.
Okay, you hear what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and I found 3 guns, and I was able to change a pamper all at once.
That's multitasking.
You better believe it. I was a switch hitter.
Now, I have a
There's
funny...
Hank Shanks.
Yeah, there. I have a funny Yankee story. As a kid, my father used to take us to the baseball game. My mother was a die-hard Met fan.
Nice. Keep her away from me.
Yeah, well, she's not around anymore. But
no, she's around.
She's probably listening to what you just said.
She's laughing at me right now.
So what happened was, my father didn't really know how to get around, so he would follow everyone else. So my uncle would take us to the baseball game. This was like a weekly or a couple of times a month. And we were going to Yankee Stadium because my father had no clue where Shea Stadium was.
Right.
And one day I decided to tell my mother, all those years you thought we were going to Shea Stadium? I said, Papi didn't even know where that was. I'm like, yeah, he never knew where Shea Stadium was. We were going to the Yankee. We're Yankee fans. So my father was a Yankee fan, but he had to be quiet about it.
Wow. Well, at least he had taste.
Yes, that is true. That's why I'm a Yankee fan.
Exactly.
What would you say today to anyone looking to get into this sport as a career?
See, I always find that to be a very difficult question because of the way I got in. And I'm not going to tell
your
them,
circumstances.
Yeah, I'm
were
not.
different.
You're not going to go to Home Depot. I'm not going to tell them go to Home Depot and get some spray paint and go to Yankee Stadium, because there's no George Steinbrenner to catch them and then give them a break. You understand what I'm saying?
Or even if there was, doesn't mean he might give them the break.
George always gave kids breaks. That was the one thing about
Really?
him. but nobody else. What he did, no one else would have done. Or to drive around the neighborhood of the Bronx, or to go eat at a restaurant in the South Bronx or
Wow.
Upper Manhattan. No other owner of no other owner's going to do that. Period. Of the
Right.
ones that I know, they're not going to do it. So it is what it is. But hey, like I told my kids, work hard, study, do everything that you can to get the best grades possible so that you can go as far as you want. I mean, that's what I would tell my kids. And my kids, I mean, I'm not, but my kids are college graduates. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I'm proud of what they do. And I would do anything humanly possible to make sure that I had the money for them to go to college or whatever. I mean, I literally at one point I sold a lot of my memorabilia so that my last son could pay for that last year, because that last year of college was like $30,000. We were 30,000 short.
Wow.
You hear me? And so in essence, I had to sell my memorabilia and a World Series ring, my 2009
Ooh.
World Series ring.
Wow.
But it was either that or have my son go into heavy debt, and I didn't want that. There was a reason.
Right. Right.
So and when someone from the Yankees did ask me, I see you sold your ring. Why?
Wow.
I said unless you guys are gonna give me the 30 grand that I need, I had to, because of my son's education.
Right. Right.
And that meant everything to me. His
Oh,
education meant everything,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? Is there any other philanthropy that you've done that you haven't mentioned, or even that you'd like to do?
Well, the whole thing is, I'm going to give you an example of something. One time there was a bunch of kids sitting outside Yankee Stadium, and I knew that they had never been inside the park. So I snuck them into the park. It was 12 kids, maybe.
Wow.
I snuck them in, and a security guard saw me doing that, and he ran to George Steinbrenner and said, Ray Negron just snuck his friends in the park. So Steinbrenner goes, get his ass down here right now. So the guy, was so happy that oh yeah, we got you now. Let's see you get your way out of this one. You know what I'm saying? So I go into his office, and he goes, okay, I got it from here, Bill. Good job. And the guy leaves, and then the boss goes, how many? And I said, 12. And he goes into his pocket, pulled out $200, and he said, get them hot dogs, peanuts, whatever they want. And if you run out of cash, come back.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And later on, after the game, and the kids had left and all, he goes, how come you didn't tell me that you wanted to bring these kids in? And I said, because they're not a part of any organization. And you know what he said? F labels. F labels.
He's absolutely
I said,
right.
this is about the aspect of helping people, not labels. And they're people.
Because people put in labels that block the simple things that children should be.
Exactly. And so, in essence, that's why I just do what I got to do. I don't look for a certain cause or whatever. I see a problem, I try to go do what I got to do.
Right.
I see a situation. Now, do I know somebody that could help me with this? And make a phone call. I see another situation. I may have 5 situations in one day, and people are saying, well, I can't reach Ray Negron. Yeah, because I'm busy.
Right.
Because I don't have that much time.
Well, I thank you for taking the time for this interview.
No, this is, Jackie, so you understand, and I've told you this, I've always wanted to do your show because I have big time respect for you.
Thank you.
And the fact that you are a label at ABC, you know what I'm saying? So regardless, ABC for me is a conglomerate. And for a Latino woman to be a part of ABC radio, man, girl, you doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
I think that's
The
so
first
cool.
Latina at
No,
that.
oh, forget about it. Listen, I know how hard it is
Yes.
for a Latino boy, let alone a girl,
Hmm.
you know?
And I worked in many stations, but that's
No,
the
but this is
first time.
ABC, man. It's like going to the Yankees.
I want to go there.
You know what I
I
mean?
haven't been in a Yankee game in a while. I need to go.
I didn't invite her.
I'm going to crash. But once again, I want to thank you for being on the show. I admire everything you do and what you represent.
Thanks.
Considering you came from the School of Hard Knocks, you definitely are quite the example. And I thank you for what you've done for your community
Well,
and for all of us.
well, I lied about something.
Uh-oh, what you lie about?
Well, I did graduate from a college. And what had happened was I was with George Steinbrenner and all of his friends from Yale, Harvard, Brown. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
All the great schools.
Oh, the Ivy League,
And,
right?
and then there was me, and I'm in the middle of all this, and so I'm looking down, and all of a sudden, Mr. Steinbrenner says, "Put your head up. Put your head up." And I'm saying, "Uh-oh," and then he goes, "Listen, just so these idiots know, you went to the greatest university of all." And I wonder, what the hell's he talking about? You went to the University of Steinbrenner.
Ooh,
You know what I'm saying? So I smiled and I felt good about myself.
you
when he
sure
said
did
that.
went to the University of There should be a university called
I agree.
Steinbrenner, right?
They got a Steinbrenner High School in Tampa, so they should. You're
Yeah,
right.
there should be. And Hank's Yanks.
That was nice.
That would be great. I mean, I think, like I said, what you do for the community is very impactful. And, oh, you did a movie or something that you had all these people, Chaz Palminteri, Sofia Vergara. Tell us about that.
Well, that was my last film. I like to try to do a film a year.
Okay.
And I love the art. I've gotten to work with the great directors like Francis Ford Coppola and A Cotton Club. I mean, so it's just a lot of great ones. And my last film was it was actually Out of Order with Brooke Shields and Louis Guzman.
Oh, Louis Guzman.
You know, and I just finished that a couple of weeks ago. And before that, I did a film with Sofia Vergara and her husband, Joe Manganiello.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bottom of the Ninth, which was a fun film, and I actually I produced some of that, so it was. That
must have been
nice.
a great experience for you.
Every film I work in is a wonderful experience. I love being on the set. Nothing like it, you know. It's like being in the clubhouse.
Yes.
Nothing like it.
Well, once again, I want to thank you for being on the show, and I guess you'll always be a Yankee, a Bronx Bomber.
Hey, you know what? I hope so.
This is Jackie Nuñez for Latin Waves, and got to do this again sometime. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Time now for a sneak peek at a new off-Broadway play with a Yankee theme in Babylon, New York. It is titled Bat Boy, a Yankee Miracle, and is based on the life of Yankee special consultant Ray Negron. He was caught by the late George M. Steinbrenner spraying graffiti on the walls of Yankee Stadium while a youngster. Negron became a Bat Boy and has been with the organization ever since. Students from Oceanside High School had roles in the show as well as some other familiar faces. Here's a look.
You know, it takes me back. It's like a time tunnel, going back and reliving Dermot, Reggie, Catfish, all the guys from the era that I love so very much, and the boss, and how he became the boss because of that era.
1973, doing graffiti outside Yankee Stadium. And that night, I was the bat boy for the New York Yankees, and the man that caught me was George Steinbrenner. Okay?
Look what he did! Wait, stop! What? Stop. Look what he did! It's my team. It's okay. It's okay.
George was the craziest man I ever knew in my whole life. Let me say that George Steinbrenner was the greatest man I ever knew in my life.
I feel that I'm giving tribute to the people that I love so much, to the boss, to Reggie, to Billy, to Thurman. Forget about it.
Thurman, you're my captain. I need your advice.
I'm just Thurman. No need for the captain, or I'm going to start calling you boss.
You know something? I like that. I like that. That's a pretty good nickname, Thurman. Thanks.
Everybody loves the Yankees, and because you love the Yankees the way you do, you want to be a part of it. The Phantom of the Opera is in my play. Kieran Sheehan, who did it more than any other guy, over 1,000 times. Joey Gian, who was the heartthrob on Knots Landing, one of the all-time great TV series, playing Thurman Munson. Great musical talent that's in it. I mean, I got a call, the show's not even over, I got a call from William Morris Agency talking to me about some of the kids that are on display, so it's wonderful.